All right, bring it in. Powell MMA on 3. 1, 2, 3. Powell MMA. Go work today, guys and gals. Well, in that case, do you have any questions for me? As far as, like, I've got over 80 fights. I had 25 fights with the UFC. I'm the current karate combat champion. I've fought just about everywhere there is to fight. I've been in most situations with fighting. Can I answer anything for you? Yes, sir.
So, since you're the champion of your division, you're picking who you fight.
Right. It's the reason I had my career ended the way it did with the UFC. Is I just said yes to everyone. Said sure, whatever. Like, I remember I fought Brendan Allen, up a weight class on 3 days' notice after I was supposed to fight. It was just I said yes. So as champion, I'm the same way. Yes, I just made this last weekend. There's a karate combat, and Marcus Perez won. It was a beautiful fight. It was awesome. Beat him, knocked him out in the third, or TKO'd him in the third, and then he got the microphone. He said, "I want the belt. I want the belt." And I said, "All right, I'll give you the belt. Whatever. Let's do it." And somebody else was yelling, "I want the belt. I want the belt." I said, "I'll take you too." So I called them both out. I said, "I'll fight you both in the same night." I said, "This December, make it happen." I think the fight's in Dubai. I said, "I'll fight both of them at once." So that. No, I'll fight them both at once. My last 3 fights as an amateur was a tournament, 3 fights in one night. Yeah, it's been forever ago that happened, but I'd be willing to do it again. I call him, and I swear to God, I will. I actually was on the phone. So I don't know if you know Karate Combat. They call the president, the Dana White. They call him Dana Brown in Karate Combat because President Awesome is what he goes by. And I was on the phone with him and said, "Listen, I'm serious. I will fight them both in the same night. You give me 20 minutes between fights." And he said, "We would love to, and we love that you're willing to. But if you get hurt in that first fight, you kind of ruin the card." I said, I promise I won't get hurt. So I'm still fighting with him. I would love to do it because it hasn't been done. In this sport, most important thing is you have to win. If you don't win, nothing else matters. But a close second is you have to be remembered. Make a personality for yourself. And fighters are notoriously terrible at doing this. There are 2 fighters that really stood out with it. One is Chael Sonnen, and the other is Conor McGregor. Right now, everybody's trying to copy Conor because they're not quick enough to copy Chael. Like, Chael was so sharp. I like to think I'm sharp, but I'm not as sharp as Chael. Like, I can't keep up like him. So I've got my own thing going for me. But Conor, just be a jerk, but win. And people are being a jerk like him, like it's like Colby Covington kind of adopted. It's what the list kind of goes on. They're all trying to be him. Who's the other guy that does that? Triple C. They're all tweaking Conor, but they're all trying to be Conor. Don't be Conor. Be yourself, but louder. So you've got to be memorable. Win first, be memorable second. And the 2 fights in one night would be memorable. That would be talked about by everyone. And I'm convinced I'd beat them both. I'm not joking. I will beat them both the same night. I'm not quite bold enough to say I'll fight them at the same time. I mean, for the right price, whatever. I'll fight any 6 guys but that price would have to go up for that. So did that answer your question? All right. And more questions. You want to know about anyone? Oh, right here.
Fighting in a pit, because that's kind of an interesting thing.
So fighting in the pit as opposed to fighting in the cage is a huge change for me. My entire career, I have fought with I'll rewind like 19 years. When I first started fighting, I did not train. I was probably 3-1 as a professional before I ever stepped foot into a gym. And when I stepped foot into a gym, I was the head coach. I made it up for the first 4 years. And I had a good time doing it, but that's the reason I have so many terrible habits that work for me is I just developed bad things and it works really well for me. Since that time, I've moved out to California and worked with Dan Henderson and his team, and I've got good technique behind it. But a lot of my bad habits turned into really good habits because I'm the only one that did it. One of the things you can't teach yourself is jiu-jitsu. So at the beginning, when I was training myself, figuring it out, I was like, well, I don't need to know jiu-jitsu if I don't get taken down. I can avoid getting taken down if I keep my back foot against the cage. So I spent my whole career keeping my head back. And you watch, I mean, 25 fights, like, I am never in the center of that cage. I'm foot on there, so you shoot, and I'm going to stop. And I have the 5th highest takedown defense rating in UFC history. Out of every weight class, nobody could take me down. I fought Rashad Evans, beat Rashad Evans. He shot on me for 15 minutes, never got me down. And I just learned how to do that. The pit, I forgot where we started the question from. The pit, I don't have the cage anymore. So now if I cannot have my back foot on that cage because any pressure and I'm on my back. So I've had to adapt. I've had to push forwards.
It's not continuous.
Right. Karate combat it's UFC rules except there's no jiu-jitsu. And wrestling, I can't just double leg, but I can throw, I can do whatever I want that way. So they've taken all the boring parts of fighting and they took them out. But that pit has made me have to go forwards. And so I'm a big fan of it because I can't. In the UFC, I've spent my whole second half of my career trying to get myself walking forwards. And I would practice it, I would drill it, I would do it, I'd get in the cage and I'd go right back. And it was my downfall in the end, is everyone else figured out what I was doing. So, well, shoot, we'll just come at him real fast and he can't back up for it. And that's where my downfall was. But in the pit, I have no choice. Like, there is no cage for me to hide on. I have to go forwards. And I've been having a good time with it. Yes, sir.
How do you get your mindset ready for the fight? Like psychologically, when you do anything different, close to a fight or anything?
I'm terrible with this question. It's never been an issue for me. When I started fighting, I had 6 amateur fights, and it took like 4 months to get them. I just didn't care. I'd never watched the UFC. I didn't know anything about it. My first fight, I didn't know the rules. I went into it probably in the basketball shorts with pockets on it. Boom, I hit this boy and I smeared his nose from one side of the face, his face to the other. He fell over and I said, yeah, I won. Well, MMA, you don't win. MMA, he gets to get back up and keep going. So finished the round after he got back up. I was like, oh, shoot, I should have hit him more. Round 2, he took me down and beat the brakes off me. So, okay, well, it's a learning experience. But because it was not my goal to be in the UFC, it was not my goal I was just, all right, I'll do this. As an amateur, I got to fight in Russia, which is a blast. I got back on a Sunday. On a Wednesday, I got a call, hey, you want to fight in a tournament this weekend? I said, yeah, okay. It's heavyweight. You good with that? I said, yeah, sure, whatever. So 3 days later, I did 3 fights in one night and won $1,000. I said, all right, you're a pro now. I said, all right. So, and then I was fighting for, I don't know, like gas money for the first 12 fights or something. And it was like gas money and $200. So I was making rent with it. It was a different era. And I just fought a lot. That's why I have as many fights as I do. And the question was the nerves. It just, by the time I found out I could make a living doing it, I had already fought so many times, the nerves just were never there. Now I coach a lot, and a lot of people have those nerves. And the best advice I can give is compete in everything. Do as much, compete in wrestling, old man tournaments since you're not in high school, right? You're not in high school? All right, do old man tournaments, do jiu-jitsu tournaments, do chess tournaments. Anytime you can compete in front of people, that will help kill those nerves. You just get used to people watching you. That's really there'll always be that thought, it's like, oh, this is gonna hurt, and the more you do it, the less you'll care about that. You're like, I know how good I am, I've got a good coach, I've got a good gym, I'm not gonna get that hurt. But the other half of it is just having people watching you and thinking, oh, I'm gonna screw up and people are gonna be, I'm gonna be embarrassed. Compete in everything before you get in that spot. It's Super Smash Bros. Tournaments. Anything where people can see you and make fun of you if you lose, do it as much as you can. More questions? Yes, sir.
So you mentioned bad habits. Is there any bad habits that you're still trying to break to this day?
No, I've just owned them all. Now I've recognized them, and now I'll coach everything 2 ways. I'll coach it the way it should be done, and I'll coach it the way I do it. And then I said, listen, it works this way, but my lead hook, it's my ginger hook is what it's been named, because I've got close to 30 knockouts in my career, and it was like 90% of them was from that lead hook. And the way you're supposed to do is step out and hook. I do it with my back foot, which I'm still if they're coming at me, I'm not getting out of their way at all. But it works real well for me. It should be, take that step off, so if they're attacking, I'm now on the angle, and I've always done it with that back foot. So I'll teach it. It's all right, the way you should do it is this way. The way I do it is that way. And I've got a list of stuff that I've recognized as being wrong because people, I just learned something else. So, sorry, it's exciting me in front of you guys. My last fight, so my title defense, I brought my belt too, by the way, if you want to see that. My last title defense, I've never bothered checking kicks for the most part. I get kicked a lot. I'm the guy that always said kicks don't hurt. And if you want to make an impression on the internet, say kicks don't hurt. And the internet hates that you say that. So I say it all the time. Yeah, kicks don't hurt. I typically don't check because I'm really not worried about it. Every now and then I will. Oh boy, he kicked me on this side, and I used my lead leg and I checked across. And it was fine. I didn't think anything of it. It's how I do it when I do it. It happened like 3 times. Rewatching the fight, Boss Rutan and Mike were saying, I wonder why he does that. And they like had a conversation as to why I was checking the wrong way. I said, I didn't know it was the wrong way. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. It's slow. I'm off balance. So that's another thing that I just recently learned I do the wrong way that works well for me, and that is the way I'll teach it. I won't even bother teaching it the other way now. So that's kind of, I've got a list of stuff I know is wrong, but works for me. So I'll teach them how I do it, but I'll teach them the right way to do it as well. More questions? Yes, sir.
Was winning the belt recently your favorite highlight of your career, or was it something else?
Favorite highlight of the career. So my favorite highlight of the career, I was 11-1 going into the Karate Combat Tournament. And if I won this tournament, I got a big diamond ring and a $10,000 check. And I was fighting Gerald Mearshart. You guys know Gerald I fought him twice. I've beaten him up now for, say, 8 rounds. For about 45 minutes, I've beaten him up. This first fight, the tournament, he choked me out with a minute to go. I beat him up for 24 minutes. He got me with a minute to go. It's like, oh, man. And that was my last fight before I moved to California. And the plan was I'll win this, I'll have money, I can move to California. I lost, so I made nothing. That was the deal. You win, you get 10 grand, you lose, you get nothing. And I lost, I got nothing. But I proposed to my wife in the cage right after that. And after I lost, I go, whatever, her ring's better than yours, Gerald. So that's probably my favorite memory in all of MMA dumb. So, personal note, I met my wife at the Bristol Renaissance Fair, which is I was selling steak on steak. First thing I did was at the Renaissance Fair, you can buy roses from rose sellers and they'll deliver it to whoever you want to. We were introduced through her boss and a buddy of mine, and I was like, oh my God, this is prettier than I ever touched. So I bought her a rose. Immediately forgot her name. Like, jeez. So I sent it to Becky. Her name's Britt. And it turned into, now we just joke about it the whole time. That title fight, the rose seller, I got him to come. I said, bring me as many roses as you can. And so as my fight was going on, he gave these roses to all my family. I mean, I sold out the arena. They all had roses. So as I was, down on the knees saying, will you marry me? They were all throwing roses in. And it was pretty great. So anyways, that's my favorite memory.
So with so many fights on your record and even doing multiple in one night, what are you doing to stay healthy before and after fights?
I never stop training. I'm in the gym constantly. I have some advantages as I'm a big guy. So most of my rounds are against smaller guys. I don't get hit as much as most people do because of it. I lift, especially since leaving the UFC, I lift constantly now. I'm in the gym an hour and a half every morning before jiu-jitsu practice. And I love lifting. And just being bigger and stronger helps me not get hurt as much. I'm also very aware of my weaknesses. Like, so y'all know, if you touch my ankles, I'm going to tap. It's like, I'm not dealing with ankle locks. And it'll be my downfall someday. If ever I leave karate combat, they're going to touch my ankles and I'm going to tap. It's like, whatever. I should learn them, but I'm not going to. It's one of my weaknesses. So I know my weaknesses, and I live by them. I trust what past Sam has learned. Right here.
Kind of on that same topic of how to stay healthy, like we have a lot of guys that got debuts coming up. People like 8 to 10 weeks out for a fight. What do you recommend they're doing outside of the gym to get ready? Like, obviously the mat time's most important, but should it be like distance running, doing sprints, lifting weights, like what kind of lifting, stuff like that?
So in an 8-week camp, like I said, I like to lift. For the first 4 weeks of my camp, I'm going to lift just as heavy. I'm going to lift, I'm going to work out. My last 4 weeks, I pull the weightlifting out almost completely, and I just go to cardio. And I switch I do Tabata rounds, which is if I have a 5-minute rounds. I'll do 5 rounds of every minute will be a different exercise. And I'll push my cardio that way. I'll have a minute down, then I'll do that for 5 rounds. It's miserable. I hate doing it. Karate combat's great because it's only 3-minute rounds. And after a career of 5-minute rounds, like 3-minute rounds, like I do these all day. It's so nice. And it's funny, a lot of these karate guys get tired with 3-minute rounds because they're not used to the full contact like I am. So it's a beautiful little cheat code for me. So I recommend weightlifting. A lot of fighters don't like doing it. It says they hurt the joints. So listen to your body. If it hurts, don't do it. I also tell everyone the 3 things that'll ruin any career is women, work, and drugs. You can avoid women. You can avoid drugs. Work you got to do. You got to figure work out. And it is needed. You got to pay your coaches. You got to pay your gym dues. You got to, get your protein shakes, and you got to eat well. But women are hard. They are. Drugs should be easy. I hope everyone I ever fight smokes. I hope they do. Because I know it will not help them. And it's something I've never done and never will. I don't even drink because I always have to work out tomorrow. It's now I don't ever think about it. I know when you're, what's the line? Young, dumb, and full of, yeah. Forgot what the word was until I got there. You want to go out and enjoy your time as being a youthful, athletic, whomever you are. Just be aware, it makes your career harder. It makes everything harder. It makes waking up the next morning harder. It makes you say, I should work out. Nah, I'll do more tomorrow. It makes that a really easy decision. So stay away from those and pick your women wisely. Did that answer your question?
I saw you were sparring with Sean Strickland, and you guys are friends.
Yeah, he and I are buddies.
Is there anybody like big name that you would want to spar and why?
Strickland's my best rounds to this day. And we beat each other up. He's broken my jaw before. We had to get wired shot. I've broken his knee before. And we're MMA karmically equal right now. Like we've hurt each other equal amounts. Like nobody owes anyone anything. So we can go as hard as we want right now. He's the guy that I can't spar with because I'm getting older and wiser and all that. I don't want to get hit as much as he wants to hit me. So I'll spar him and I'll give him everything I got, but I may not spar him 2 days in a row like I used to. But he's a good round. Chris Curtis, he's lived with me for 6 years. So he's a great round. And actually, Dan Henderson, I've trained with him forever. He's older now, so now it's like I want to train with him more because I'll win everything. Sorry, Dan. And that's that answer your question? And I'm willing to, fight with anyone. Nagano, I wish we were better friends. I say we're good acquaintances. I met him when he fought in Colorado. I was fighting Nate Marquardt. That's actually a funny story. So Nagano, I always get to wherever I'm fighting. If we're allowed to get there on the Saturday before, I'm there wherever we are the Saturday before the fight. He was there too. He was in a hot tub or something and said, hey, can I come in with you? And he said, yeah. He didn't say yeah because he was just new to English. So it's very French, like oui, oui, or whatever it is. It was really funny. I got in there and we had a broken English conversation for 20 minutes. It was great. And then he said, all right, I have to, fare thee well or sacre bleu. And he stood up. And it's I hadn't seen him. I only saw his head because they're in a hot tub. He stood up and he was way bigger than he is now. And it was like, well, holy God, you're huge. And he thought it was pretty funny. No, I know lift weight, no lift weight. I said, bullshit, you know lift weight. You lift all the weight. You lift every weight. Say, no. And so I like to say we're good acquaintances. When we see each other, we will make sure to say hi to each other. I was out in Extreme Couture and he was, great as he can be. So a big fan of his. I'd be willing to spar him. I'd be a little nervous sparring him because I hit hard, but that guy kills people. It's crazy. Right here. I'm never betting against Holloway ever again. I thought he should have lost most of his last fights, and he's not only won, he's dominated them all. He just blocks punches with his face and just doesn't slow him down. I keep figuring somebody's going to catch him. It's got to happen at some point. He's got to get knocked out. And he hasn't even been wobbled. It hasn't been close. So I'm never betting against Holloway again.
Do you have a favorite UFC fighter to watch?
Sean Strickland is a buddy of mine. So it makes training and watching fights is so much more fun when you know the fighters. Like it's fun when you know the moves, but if you have just a little bit of a connection to a fighter, it is so much more fun. So I have more fun watching Strickland than I do anyone else. And Curtis is another one. And then Marvin Vittori, I've sparred him a number of times, and he's a stud. So if I know him, I love watching him.
What would you say would be your favorite martial art, like boxing, jiu-jitsu?
My favorite martial art is I like boxing. It's like I said, I'm not a big kicker. I can kick. I can do the fancy stuff and just slow with them. Boxing, I hit real hard. And when, like I said, for the first 4 years, I taught myself. And the easiest thing I thought to teach myself was how to swing and do that. Then I actually learning boxing, and it's way more difficult than that, but it was simple at the beginning. But for martial arts, wrestling is by far, hands down, the most dominant of anything you should learn. Learn it while you're in school. Y'all look old, so I don't know how many of you are still in school, but you two look young. How old are you two? Yeah, wrestle. Wrestle as much as you can. It's just you'll never be able to do it like you can in school when you're an adult. It's just wrestling is hard. Like now I just don't want to. It's like changing levels is screw that. Like, I'm 100% Greco now. Everything is standing up, and I'm just. What did you wrestle?
What weight?
What style?
Oh, freestyle.
Okay, yeah, way too much movement for me. Okay, yeah. Well, way too much movement for me.
We incorporate quite a bit of wrestling.
Oh, and it's great, yeah. Wrestle as much as you can because it's the one thing that it is the hardest thing to learn. Yes, sir.
Since you've competed in both, do you like UFC or karate combat?
I like watching karate combat more. I really do. I started watching. I've been with them for a little more than a year. I started watching them about 17 months ago. Raymond Daniels is a buddy of mine, and he is the greatest striker on the planet Earth. He's just incredible. He's the one guy that made me want to be a wrestler. And so I saw him tweet, "Hey, karate combat tonight, I'm on." So I watched that first event, and I was just hooked. It is so much faster paced than everything else. And they took away most wrestling, and they took away all jiu-jitsu. And so it's all just the fancy, they're spinning, and they're off the pit wall. And I much prefer watching karate combat, and the pit is just cool.
I saw you on Fight in Nashville too.
Yeah.
I was there for that.
Oh yeah, it was a good fight. It was a good night. It was the first time I'd fought at home like ever. I mean, it had been close to 18 years since I fought anywhere near my home. Yeah, it was a blast. But now the downfall of karate combat is they don't have the names you recognize. Like you said, it's more fun to watch fights when you know the guys. Karate combat doesn't have the guys you know yet. We're working on it. Like I'm in there, so y'all love watching me. Better. They're starting to get some characters in there. And President Austin, like I said, he preaches. He said, guys, make a name for yourself. Do anything that somebody else doesn't do. And you watch karate combat weigh-ins, they're all freaking they're all shoving each other and being yeah, it is so forgettable. Like you'll see that, oh wow, he shoved that guy, and then oh wow, he shoved that guy. Now it's just 6 different people shoved each other. You forget all of them. So apparently they shoved each other. So don't bother doing that. Do something that people remember. I fought in Mexico City against Alex Nicholson, and it was actually the week of the Mexican Day of the Dead, Del Muertes. Yeah, it's the one. It was that week. So me, my wife, and I had 3 kids at the time. We went downtown Mexico. Didn't speak a word of Mexican. Not a word. But we just had a blast. We found some Mexican gals that were painting faces like skeletons and stuff. So we had our kids all painted up. It was great. And my wife and I had the idea, you know what? We can't talk to them, but if we can get their phone number, we can have somebody call them. So we did it. And we ended up getting this gal who we didn't know outside of, they painted my kids, to my hotel room the day of weigh-ins to paint my face like a skeleton. Then I weighed in, dressed like like in the full face mask in Mexico. And people remember that. That picture of me on the scale weighing in like, whomever, people remember it. And it was fun. People liked the memory of me doing it. And that's the kind of thing. You come up with something unique that makes people want to watch you. They don't even have to remember your name. They can, hey, you're that guy that smiles, right? That's me. They remember me. They'll remember my name next time. Do what you can to make them want to root for you, because it's more fun to root for the guy you know. Any more questions? Yes.
One more over here, and then maybe that to it. Can you do two more?
I'll do as many as y'all got.
Where do you fall on the argument of fighting at your walking weight versus doing a weight cut?
Oh, cut the weight. Cut the weight. People, yeah, I'll fight for free, but you're going to pay me to cut weight. Like, fighting is fun, cutting weight is not. So I cut the weight all day. I'm big into cut. Like, I fight at 205 and I walk around 240, 245, and then I'll make weight, and the time I'm fighting, I'm 235. Love it. I mean, hate it while I'm doing it, but I love it being bigger than the guy. No one's a fan of weight cutting, but I think it's a big part of the sport. It's what makes it professional. As an amateur, don't worry about it. You're not getting paid for it. So be comfortable, diet well. But as a pro, cut the weight. Being the bigger guy matters.
So you obviously had such an awesome and long career. Is there anything you'd recommend for first 5 years of fighting that you wish that you did? Like you were fighting?
The nutrition is a big part that I didn't know anything about until probably 7 years ago of my 19-year career. So George Lockhart, I bumped into him up in Canada when Rory McDonald was fighting Wonder Boy, and I was on I fought, who did I fight? The Canadian fella with the nice hair. He passed away fairly recently. Elias Theodorou, yes, Elias. I had terrible fight. It was like garbage, but don't ever watch that fight of mine. It's a terrible fight. He fought me. Like, he just kicked at me and just did enough. And it drove, But I met George Lockhart then, and we were talking about the weight cut, and he made me these post-workout shakes, and they just changed everything. Like, everyone's like, oh, if afterwards I'm going to eat fruit and I'm going to drink water and do Pedialyte. You will get bubble guts. It'll mess with your stomach. You have to know how much sodium, potassium, glucosamine leaves your body the week of your fight. And then you got to put it back in order. If you don't, it messes with your guts, it messes with how you recover post-weigh-in. So that was a big part. And then the more I started studying and working with Lockhart, I became a nutritionist through him, and I just started learning everything I didn't know. So that is something I wish I would have known from the beginning: what to eat, when to eat, why to eat, how much to eat, all of that. And my life has gotten healthier and better because of it. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, any other questions? Anything I can answer? Yes, sir.
Who's got the better gloves, Karate Combat or UFC?
I am indifferent. Apparently, everyone hates the new UFC gloves, the colored ones. Everyone talks trash about them. I haven't used them. The old ones are fine. There's no reason to change them. Karate Combat, they're the same ounceage. They're just built different. They're just solid instead of fingers. They change nothing about the way I fight, about the way anything. I think they're just a different style, and they work the exact same. So no difference. The Onyx boxing gloves, Trevor Whitman's gloves, those are the best I've ever used. And they're more expensive, but they're worth it. They'll last you 3 times the amount of time as any other one.
What was your motivation to first start fighting?
Some guy said, "Hey, you want to fight?" I said, "I sure do." I was a band nerd. I played trumpet for 20-something years. I was real good, and I was real good at the trumpet. Semi-professional, so I never got paid, but the band made money. Some guys said, "Hey, you want to fight?" I said, "Yeah, let's do it." And then 4 months later, I was a pro, and so I set the trumpet down and said, "Hey, I'm going to make $200 every other month fighting. I'm going to do that." And that was kind of the start of it. They started paying me. I said, "I'll do more of it."
When did you start your fighting? Start training?
I think my first fight was in 2007. I started training middle of 2008, something like that. I turned pro in there. Like I said, I didn't know anything about it. It was like Ninja Turtles and Jackie Chan were my inspiration behind how to do stuff. And I don't know. Apparently, I hit hard. Thank God. Otherwise, I could have gotten real hurt. But I've always had a natural power to me, which is now my entire style is based on being able to drop a guy with one shot. And when I fight Elias Theodorou, he just stayed away and kicked at me, I couldn't land that one shot. And I was like, well, I guess I need a second tool. Anything else for you guys? Yeah. I was either 20 or 21. I remember, that's the one where I dropped the guy, smeared his face, didn't know the rules. He stood back up, beat me up round 2. I remember it was an outdoor event at a bar. And after the fight, somebody bought me a beer, and I took a sip, and it like ruined me. I don't remember if that sip was legal or not. I was either 20 or 21. But I've never drank post-fight ever again. I don't drink anyways, but especially not post-fight. It was a beautiful sip. It was like one sip, and my head was spinning. And so then I drove home, and I went to bed for the next 12 hours. You know? All of that was true, I promise you. Anything else?
Is that your favorite punch?
The fusion punch? Only against the new guys. Yeah. I love messing. I'm a weight bully. I'm experienced. I'm gonna have so much fun sparring anyone that's smaller than me. I just mess with them as much as I can. You keep them coming. If you got them, I'm willing to answer. If not, we can break it down. All right, bring it in. Let's break it down.
Yeah, let's give Sam a big round of applause.
Hey. No, thank you guys.